Let me turn the volume down.
Now it's giving very camera A, camera BT, bitch.
Right. So hey guys, welcome. Yeah, I turned the volume down on my phone so it's no feedback.
Okay, I'm actually gonna mute my phone so it's no feedback.
Yeah. Hey you guys, welcome to another edition of Box Number 512 Podcast, Grown Black Trans Women Talk Live. We are getting started shortly. Today is the first time that we will be going live from our Instagram page, in addition to Facebook and YouTube. So make sure you are following us, make sure you are subscribed to us. So you guys can be a part of the conversation. Also, make sure you. I'm gonna try to bring you back in. In addition to Facebook.
Sorry, girl.
No, it's fine.
Ugh.
Make sure you guys like this live. Make sure you guys are sharing this live. I mean, we decided to come to you in the afternoon as opposed to Friday like we usually do. I'm in the process of moving. As you can see, my closet has never been this empty, honey, before. So I'm in the process of moving, trying to get my stuff in order.
Is it still a reverberation? Yeah.
Hello.
I'm about to fix it in a moment.
Huh? You hear me?
I can hear you. I'm still here.
Okay, yeah. So we're getting started, honey. We'll get started shortly. I'm about to share the live on my Facebook page. Welcome. Come on in the room. Come on in the room, honey.
I'm not living already, sis, but we're gonna try this. What do I need to do to make that stop happening? Because I think I don't have my volume down as low as it can go.
Hello. Oh, they're saying that you need headphones. You have headphones for your computer?
No, yes, I do. Give me a second.
Okay. Bear with us, y'all. Bear with us, y'all. Bear with us, y'all. We will have it together shortly. If not, we will just come off Instagram Live and try that at another time, and we will just continue to go live from Facebook and YouTube. So just bear with us. We will be on shortly. Hey y'all, how does it sound? We need some interaction from the comments. How is it sounding?
All right, say it again, sis.
Hmm.
I can hear you. Okay. Can you hear me?
Not on the turn your mic on StreamYard. Okay. I can hear you now.
Okay.
How do I sound from your end?
You sound fine.
Okay, so let's start this again. Um Welcome to Grown Black Trans Women Talk Live. Today is July the 25th, 2020. Um, Again, this is the first time that we are able to go live from Instagram as well as Facebook and YouTube. Before we get started, make sure you guys are sharing our live, liking our live, creating watch parties for our live to get more people into the conversation. We figure if we came up here today, it'll be a little less competition so we could get more people into the conversation. Also, do not forget this is an interactive conversation. You can leave comments through the Facebook page or the YouTube stream, and now Instagram. This is an interactive conversation. We want to hear from you. We want to talk with you. We want to interact with you guys. Also, episode 19 is available right now, so make sure you download that so you can listen to the episode once we come off of this live. So, sis, how are you feeling?
On a scale from 1 to 10, I'll say it's like a 4. Oh no, that's real low, bitch. I meant A. No, I meant like an 8 out of 10. I got a bit of a headache, but other than that, life is good. Just living, loving, laughing, girl. No tease. Just this week's episode was really, really good. I felt like that was a highlight of my week, us recording that, and so to know that it came out yesterday and the impact that I feel like that's gonna have is gonna be dope. I also had the opportunity this week of having some good conversations and collaborating with some folk, and I got some irons in the fire, girl. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
I guess what's going on with me, things are okay as they can be. I'm in the process of packing because I move next week to DC, so that has been interesting. I got really tired yesterday, even though I don't have a big apartment to pack up. Just the process of packing it. I think it winded me yesterday in a way that I was not prepared for, so I kind of had to take a break and just regain myself. Sometimes I go so hard I have to remember to take it easy on myself and take breaks and listen to my body when I need to listen to my body, because a lot of times sometimes I can go too hard and I have to remember that things are not always the same with me. Then my boxes finally arrived. They actually came before I went to Texas. I think I ordered about 20 boxes from Lowe's. I particularly chose Lowe's because we're doing black owned or black led companies, honey. We don't have time for Home Depot. They are Trump supporters, honey, so we don't have time for none of that. But yeah, I packed. I don't have much stuff. If anything, I have a lot of clothes and a lot of shoes. But since most of my stuff was already hung up or in a drawer, that was easy to pack. And I wanted to pack because I have to go to DC at the beginning of the week to get my keys to the new place and to actually see my new place for the first time, because when I bought it, I wasn't able to see it because during quarantine, and I don't know if this is still going on, they will only let you do virtual tours. So I just need to have my keys in my hand before I get there. I don't want the first time I get my keys to be when I'm moving there and I've never seen the place, girl. So, I'm the type of girl, my moon is a Virgo sign. So internally I like to cross all my T's and dot all my I's, honey. So I just wanted to make sure that a majority of my stuff is packed because as soon as I come back from DC, that following morning is when I move all my stuff. So just to try to take a little bit, just to try to take a little bit of the stress off myself and do as much as I can do beforehand. So going into the move is not as stressful as it could be. So,
gotcha.
Oh, and tomorrow, some of my friends are having a going away barbecue in the park tomorrow. I'm excited about that. This summer, before the quarantine, I was really planning on having fun in Chicago this summer and just getting my life. Corona ruined all of that, but it'll be great to see some folks I haven't seen in a while and just share some space. And just love on people. I remember when I first, I think my first week or my second week in Chicago on this thing, I was in the Boys Town, honey, and I was pumping around Boys Town, and I was crying because I really don't have no friends here, or I really don't know anybody here. So to go from that to having like a huge support system of people that I know that I love and care about, and they love and care about me. It's just, sometimes I just have to take, I have to take moments and thank God for like the path and the journey and where I'm going to continue to go. And even it's been hard to pack because it's like I'm ready for what's next and I'm ready to move on. Mm-hmm. But I've gotten into such a rhythm here and I'm so comfortable here and I love my neighborhood. My apartment could be a little bit bigger, but for all intents and purposes, I love my apartment. So it's just, sometimes I'll just walk around my neighborhood. Like I'll do like a night run to 7-Eleven and I'm just walking around and it's quiet and it's peaceful. And I'm just, thanking God for like this journey and the things that I've been allowed to see and I've been fortunate enough to experience. But I'm really going to miss, now there's certain aspects of Chicago that I'm not going to miss, but like my neighborhood and just me being able to be free and let my hair down, I'm really going to miss that. So it's been like a bittersweet process to like really know like, bitch, you're leaving. Like you're leaving.
And so what's so interesting is when you always knew that you were leaving. And I remember when you were in school, you talked about it with such like fondness. Like, I can't wait to leave Chicago. I can't wait. But I guess it's grown on just the tinge girl.
Right. I come to DC on August 1st, Kevin. Kevin wrote a comment. Yeah, I'm coming to DC next week. To the DC area, so I come next week. But yeah, I've been in. Somebody wrote a comment on Instagram. How long have you been in Chicago? I moved to Chicago in August of 2016. Yeah, August. So I'll be here. So it'll be 4 years. 4 years that I've lived in Chicago. Chicago is a very cute place, especially for school. But for me, long term, it's just not where I want to be. I feel like for me, it served its purpose, and it's time for me to move on. And I always told myself once I got into school that I would go wherever the work took me. So the work is taking me to DC right now, and then if it's meant for me to stay in DC, I'll stay. If not, I'll transition to some other market. But yeah, I feel like I've done my time here in Chicago.
Yes.
Y'all, please let us know if there are any sound issues or anything like that, because we can definitely fix that. Or if you have any other comments. Also, let me put another comment. If you guys want to join the live or come on the live to share any opinions and stuff like that, once we get into our topics for today, please be makeup ready. But please feel free to come on and interact with us, honey. This is an interactive show.
For sure. Also, for those of you who are tuning in and you want to know what's going on, what is this? This is Black Grown Trans Woman Talk, box number 512, live after show. And we're a podcast that features and centers Black women of color, Black trans women of color, and the conversations that we have about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We just ask that you just please also donate on our Anchor page. For those of you who do follow us and like and subscribe our podcast, we thank you. But on our Anchor page, we would love it if you could support a Black-owned business, honey. Each one together helps the dream go far. But, we need each other, and so we would appreciate any help you could offer. Yes. So, sis, let's get into these topics, girl. I wanted to say, well, first of all, this week I've watched a lot of things in media kind of like evolve and pan out. Before we get into like the more serious ones, let's talk about our episode, Unpacking the DL. As I alluded to earlier, girl, I kind of lived and I kind of appreciated the conversation. I was proud at our effort at like breaking it down from multiple points of view. For the fellas who are listening and you want to know, oh girl, did they go in on us? We did, but we did it in love. And we also talked about a lot of societal stigmas and issues that affect how we show up in the world and how the world receives us as trans people, but also the men and the people that love us. So feel free to tune into that conversation. For me, it was great. I haven't received a lot of feedback yet, but I know it's gonna be something. What about you, sis?
No, I haven't heard anything bad yet. I posted the clip from the conversation yesterday. Towards the end of the conversation, you had a lot of nuggets on that conversation yesterday. And one of the nuggets was encouraging DL men or just trans amorous men in general to seek therapy. Somebody wrote a comment saying like, well, should we, like, is there therapy is not the answer for everybody, and should we promote therapy when it's based like in a system that's harmful to us and that's oppressive to us? So that was the only kind of pushback to what was said. But okay, you look
and we
like
can respond to that here.
Yeah, definitely.
So then yes, we are aware in society the way in which therapy has affected our lives, the Eurocentric point of view of it, the way Black suffering is not viewed as equal, the way they have pathologized the experience of Black and brown and people in queer communities. We know that happens in psychology, but what we also know is that there are Black, brown, and queer folk who are psychologists, who are psychiatrists, who have gone to school, done the work, done the research, and who are actively seeking to dismantle the Eurocentric way that psychology and psychiatry looks at brown bodies and queer bodies and anybody that isn't white heteronormative. We are aware that what psychology used to be, but we have to embrace the potential for change. And what we do know is that we can't continue to do the same thing and expect different results and think that is going to continue to somehow change our lives when we see that it hasn't. We need to try something different. And I feel like as a people, as a Black person, I have personally benefited from therapy in a way that I feel like has made me a better human being. And it was because I sought out therapists that were affirming for me and my identity and my experience. And I am also aware that therapy comes with a certain amount of privilege. We live in a time right now where a lot of people have lost their jobs. A lot of people don't have health insurance. But then in that case, I would ask that you do the work to do your own self-healing. So now I am aware that therapy isn't accessible for everyone, but it does look like you may be coming up with a practice of medication. It does like maybe looking like you actually define members in your life that are going to be, I guess the words I want to say is a part of your support team. We talk about that often, how we have like this round table of folk. So surround yourself in a round table of folk who maybe know a little more than you, who may be a little bit more emotionally intelligent than you are on something. What we're saying is do the work individually to heal thyself and not put that onto a partner.
Right. Somebody wrote a comment on our Instagram page. Hey, MC Rugger. Am I saying that right? Rugger or Rugger? MC Rugger said you have to. Ooh, I hit my computer. You have to shop for a therapist like you do a car. Find one that's suitable for you.
So true. So true. It's not a one size fits all option. Just because somebody went to school does not mean that they're going to be able to to be able to help you speak to your experience. Some of my best experiences have been with people of color, and particularly my current psychiatrist, God bless him. He is a man of color, and I have a wonderful experience with him. He's a black man, and I have a wonderful experience with him. So you have to find what it looks like for you, and it may not be what you think it will look like, but it's somebody that is going to meet your mental health needs, not your social club, not somebody that you want, because you do want somebody that's going to challenge your ideas. You don't want somebody that's the exact replica of you. But I find that it doesn't necessarily, my therapist doesn't have to be me exactly, as long as they've unpacked that Eurocentric thought process that says you're wrong, there's something about you. I don't really do well with very religious therapy. That's not my lane, because you're just speaking from a paradigm that I feel like is structured around white supremacy. So then I'm already kind of like, But a spiritual therapist that happens to have a connection to a spirit realm, that can speak to my experience as a queer person and not from a judgmental place, that can also affirm my Black experience, was hard to come by, but it happened for me, and I'm a better person for it.
Yeah. Somebody commented, Goddess Lemure. I've been in the system for 20 years. That too was an opportunity for me to learn. Our therapists are good people, but so many times aren't equipped.
But when they are, it's amazing.
Yeah, and I don't know. For me, the therapy for me is not finding somebody to fix me. For me in my situation, a lot of times is finding another person to vent to talk to, just so I can get it out of me. And I think that's the important part about what you were talking about specifically, because a lot of times these men, they don't have anybody to talk to, and a lot of times they try to dump onto us or try to make us responsible for their healing. So I think you were saying is, because you're not talking to anybody about it, how do you really know if you're toxic or not? Because you just are just going through the motions and moving around in life, and you're not really, you don't even have any safe spaces to really vent or to dump. And you it's just like you got to get out there and try it. And like the previous commenter said, you have to try a therapist out. Just because you go to one therapist doesn't mean it's the be all. But like at the end of the day, you are a consumer, even though you need the medical service of the therapy and mental health and all of that. You have the right, if you don't feel like the therapist is a good fit, you have the right to find a new one. But I think all we're saying is you need to try, because I don't have the capacity to heal my future partner in that way.
And I feel like we live in a world where not just trans women, but women in general are expected to be these emotional healers, these deep and deep wells of knowledge and health that men can suck from infinitely. They can suck on the teat of Black women and their patience and their comfort and the way that they are able to troubleshoot. You can do that, and we can handle it, and we have had to in cases where the world has stripped you of that dignity. But it would be nice for men to then now be able to say, you know what, that's not my wife's responsibility. My wife's responsibility is not to be my emotional healer. I said I'm a grown-ass man, and I expect to be treated as a grown-ass man in every other way, sexually, financially, emotionally, spiritually. I expect to be treated as a grown-ass man. Well, if I'm treating you as an emotional equal and a grown-ass man, then you should not be relying on me to be your therapist. Your woman is not your therapist. Your woman is there to experience you as a full person. But I feel like we live in a world where femininity in general, the kindness and the motherliness and the nurturing of women, is something that men use to kind of manipulate us into this paradigm where it's like, I'm so concerned about you, I can't be concerned about me. And we're affirming even for our trans sisters, when men are dating us, and they are when they are dating us and they are engaging with us in a way where they make us feel like we're too difficult to be with because they've never done this before, and we should give them all this leeway to be DL or to be feel treating us a certain way, or to make us feel like something about us isn't right for them. We have paid this big cost to be these people, and we talk about this on the podcast, but we paid the cost to be these people, and we are not morally, spiritually, emotionally obligated to help somebody figure out why they like you. Are beautiful, and you are whole, and you have been very courageous and brave to step out on faith, to be something that the world told you was an abomination. The world told you was wrong. The world told you, this your white Eurocentric world that we live in told you that your brown, feminine, black body was a problem for those of us that are black trans women. And what we're saying is that we no longer have to carry the emotional burden. We never should, and we should not promote going forward the necessity to carry the emotional burden of someone else's transition for their own mental health. I gotta do me, and I need a partner that's going to be able to be mentally well enough to be in a relationship. I don't have to get you there. You need to come already ready to be in a relationship.
A word.
A word. Pass that down to your sisters and your friends and your daughters. A word. Because it took a long time for me and Aeon to get to that place. And a lot of girls, if that cycle is repeated, because somehow you feel the need to be needed in trying to heal a man that is broken. And when you break that cycle, you will change what you attract, and it's for sure.
Right. MC Rugger commented again and said patriarchy expects that emotional labor without supporting those that are doing the labor.
Exactly. You want me to be your midwife, your sexual partner, your confidant, your therapist. You want me to be your financial manager. You want me to be your best friend. You want all of these things, because that's what a woman is supposed to be. A good submissive, a woman that knows her place is supposed to do all of those things willingly. And in return, what do I get from you? The expectation from men is much lower, and sometimes in a lot of ways, men don't even think they're expected to do anything else but be in your life. And what we're saying is, trans women, particularly for us, sometimes men will prey on our vulnerabilities as women, on our abandonment that has happened to us, the way that trauma has affected the way we see ourselves, the way that trauma has affected the way we show up in the world. And they will see that vulnerability and say, now I like her. Now she know her place. She is going to be a rider. She is going to be somebody that can't judge me. She's not going to expect me to have a job. She just wants somebody to love her because won't nobody even hug her. So let's change that dynamic. Let's shift the paradigm and take power in saying you are responsible for yourself. Well, if you're not okay with being with trans people, you need to punch now, immediately, on site, because I'm not about the business of trying to help a grown man be a grown man. You need to be grown if you say you are, because you want me to treat you as such, which means that all of your qualms, your issues, your fears, those are things, not that you can't share with me and experience that you can share and explain to me, but it's not my responsibility to heal you. You heal thyself. That's a grown man. Amen.
Yes. So I guess before we move to our next topic, do folks have any questions? And as a reminder, you can comment on our Facebook live stream, our YouTube live stream, and we'll be able to see it. Or you can comment on our Instagram live on that live stream. MC Rugger wrote another comment. That's something that I appreciate about therapy. I get to choose what I share and get to decide how vulnerable to be with this person. Consistency and time helped to establish trust to be more vulnerable.
For sure. I also learned the language of how to identify my pain. We've not been taught as people to be able to articulate what pain feels like, what emotions feel like. We're taught to define an emotion by a word. How do you feel happy? Well, what is happiness? And language gave me the ability to define what happiness looked like for myself, what sadness looked like for myself, what grief looked like for myself, so that when I'm moving throughout the day, I'm not just saying, oh, I'm sad. I'm able to break down, well, why am I sad, and what is that connected to, and how is that something that's a cycle for me, and how can I? So then then once you know how to define your pain, then you can come up with a strategy for addressing it. But I feel like a lot of people have never been given the language of how to say what hurts. And how sick is that we live in a world where in a physical world, you can say my elbow hurts and you can point where it is. You can say if you have a pain in your hand, a finger, you can point to the specific part. But a pain in your spirit, a trauma that affected you as a child, a situation that you haven't processed, a grief that you haven't been able to really work through, it's not something that you can point to. And so what therapy did was gave me the ability to articulate the unseen pains or the unseen traumas or the unseen triggers in my life.
Yeah, and yeah, I was just about to bring that up. Like, not only to identify the triggers, but to identify the root of those triggers. Yeah. And that's something that has been helpful for me. Like, why is this little thing? Like, what is this little thing, and how is it connected something bigger that happened to you in your life?
And let me give an example, girl. Like, for example, for you girls that get mad when somebody leaves you on red and that triggers you, well, that's what we're saying is that what that person actually did is minor in the grand scheme of things, but it resonates with you in a way that affects the way you be. And that's what we're talking about now. Go ahead.
No. So, like, for me, like, that emotional unavailability piece, like when I text you, you don't text me back. When I call you, you don't call me back, and I don't hear from you on days on end. To me, that is connected to my abandonment issues that were created in me with with the lack of relationship that I had with my father, and or like that whole like discrete DL language. Like when somebody tells me that when we're first initially encountering each other, that triggers me because to me that's connected to you're ashamed of yourself. So deep down, you may be ashamed of me, and it triggers a whole bunch of insecurities. Now I'm at the point because I think when people think of therapy, again, they think it's this quick fix. The point is that you don't get like you will always be triggered. Like when something happens to you, it changes you and it becomes a part of you. And you will always have that trigger. For me, what therapy has taught me is how to cope with that trigger and how to come up with other ways to make it comfortable for me to sit in the pain or the discomfort of that feeling. Because it doesn't ever go away, but when you deal with it and you address it, the intensity lessens over time, right?
Agreed.
So
and even if the intensity doesn't lessen, you know how to move through the pain or move through it as opposed to being stuck by it.
Yeah. Or just not acknowledging it at all.
Yes. Or learning how to acknowledge it in a way that's healthy.
And now I'm to the point where I can be in relationship with a man and I can tell you, you're doing this is a trigger for me or is problematic for me. And then it's like, if you don't continue to, I've told you, so I'm not just flipping out on you out of the blue. I'm telling you exactly where it's coming from. I'm giving you context. So if you continue to do this thing that I told you is very painful to me or very hurtful to me, that lets me know that you're not in a place to be a good partner to me or even be a good friend. Because somebody that loves you and cares about you is going to be mindful to do things that are triggering for you. And if they really care about you, they're going to change their behavior so that they're, better to you in relationship with you. So like now I've gotten to that point. It's just like, don't do this because I don't want to have a severe reaction to it. But if you continue to do this thing, it's going to be a problem for us. So I'm there too. Y'all are really on this therapy conversation. Okay, so MC Rugger has another comment. No shade. I like that we're on Instagram because the comments seem to come quicker on Instagram. I haven't finished the most recent episode, but would y'all say that a solution for DL people is for them to not perpetuate or be complacent about the violence against trans folks? Yeah. I think we talked about. I think we touched on that a little bit, but I think we kind of talked about it when we talked about like the false equivalency of comparing DL cis men who are complacent about the violence to stealth trans women who are complaining about the violence. I think we kind of
Yes, you did a good unpacking on that. Sis.
yeah, we addressed it in that way. But at the end of the day, if you really care about the community and you're invested in us as humans, then you can't be complacent. And like, you know, the power dynamic is different. So even if you're on a DL, you as a cis man still have more societal power. So it's more that you can do than we as trans folks could ever do, whether we're out or stealth. That you can do to disrupt the system. And I was listening to Marsha's Plate the other day. Shout out to Marsha's Plate and Dama Styles. They were saying how, and I think we brought this up. Now you have like consciously like other cis het black men who are using their platforms to push back against transphobia and be pro-trans, and a lot of them are using talking points that, you know, are rooted in black trans women or developed or created by black trans women, or you can tell that they listen to a black trans woman in order to sharpen their analysis, but because they're men and because they have these platforms, they get more attention or they get more credit for things that we've been saying for years, right? But I like Diamond's point because she was like, even though it's nice and it's refreshing, they could still be doing more. And what more looks like is don't sit in the comfort of your Instagram platform or your Twitter platform and advocate for us. The real advocacy is when you're going into the barbershops, when you're going into the locker rooms, when you're going into the spaces and really shaking shit up, because it's easy for us to just advocate from the comfort of our home and nobody else is here. Are you really doing the work when you are, you know, around your people?
Exactly.
So it's important, and we as women have got to get out of the mind state of celebrating men for doing the bare minimum or doing what they
I'm still here.
No. Somebody wrote a comment. Basically, in a nutshell, men can always do more, and they should always be asking themselves, "What more can I do, or what more can they do?" No, we got some more comments. MC Regger commented, "That false equivalency, from my perspective, came from the variation between power and privilege." Yes. We also have another comment. So from Tia. Hi, Tia. So let me understand this. You all want trans amorous men to do intense emotional work without offering emotional support because isn't it our job? That's awesome. Oh, so I think what Tia is saying that we want, or I think Tia is under the impression that we wouldn't be open to being emotionally supportive to trans amorous men as they do their work. Am I correct if I'm wrong? I'm open to being corrected, but that's how I received it. But
I'm here. I was yeah.
No, I don't see. I don't think. Okay, so what I'm understanding your comment is that you perceive that we said that we wanted men to do all of this intense personal work on their own, and we don't support them through that process. Okay, but yeah, I don't think that's what we said, or I don't think that's what I said, but if you're coming into a relationship or you want like that intimate relationship, and if you want to be in a healthy relationship, that man, it's some journeys that you have to take on your own.
Exactly. And I want to say,
it isn't our job.
But I want to say, in no way are we saying we aren't supporting our partner in their pathway to finding a therapist. And no way are we saying we won't support you and help you, baby, be with you while you're going to see one. What we're saying is that you still have the responsibility to do your own self-care even while in a relationship. See, I am a married woman, so in no way am I advocating for not helping a man through his process. I understand. My husband of 10 years now was not the person that he was 10 years ago. And it's because of love and therapy and us supporting each other through our journeys that we're here today. So in no way am I saying not to be supportive. Again, I'm a living witness that when you do include therapy into your lives, you can have something that you didn't think you could have before, because sometimes it also requires that both parties are doing their thing. So while I'm doing mine, he's doing his, we're doing ours, and that to me is called supportive relationship. It's when you're doing the work to help yourself and heal thyself while being a partner to someone else. What I am saying is my responsibility of a woman is not to play therapist. That's not my job, because if you really want to be the best person you say you are to me and to yourself and to the people you love in your life, you are going to make sure that you are going to take care of all parts of yourself. So it would be not okay for my man to be in a relationship with me and to not go to the doctor ever, or go get checked ever, or go get a STD test ever, or a man. And that's something that in society that we understand has to happen. You need to care for your physical body. What I'm saying is that as trans women, we need to make sure that our men are caring for their mental body. You know why? Because when they aren't caring for their mental body, they're running through this paradigm in their head that makes them think that this shame cycle, that makes them think that the way to end the thing that haunts them is to kill us. So we want them to go get help. I need you to be full. I need you to know who you are and that it's okay to love me, because I can't help that. I can't help that you are attracted to me. And it's not my responsibility to help you manage that tension. I can be with you and love you through the process. I can drive you to the therapist. Hell, I can go in on the therapist's money, because when we're in a relationship, I consider that being supportive. But at the end of the day, you still, whether it be your therapist, your friends, your family, whatever path you take, you still are responsible for being the agent of your own change. That's what I'm saying.
Right. And I think it's a difference between being a therapist for somebody and being a supportive partner to somebody. And I think it's two different things, and you don't necessarily have to be both. Like I can support you, but when when it's clearly a problem and you're refusing to get the extra help to fix the problem, because at some point, and I think that comment made me think of this, and this thing that we talked about that we've seen, especially with like the trans amorous community. I don't think we ever said we wouldn't support. No, Tia said that we must support him as they're doing their work. I don't think we said we won't support you. We're just saying if you're refusing to do the work, period. If there's just a refusal or denial, at the end of the day, we as trans women, we have to learn how to save ourselves emotionally from that. Because a lot of times we don't. We just sit back and, it'll get better. No, if somebody is if there is a problem that is consistently happening in a relationship, and that other person is refusing to get the outside help, how can you support them? And I know for me, I love myself enough to know that it's okay for me to walk away if this person is not willing to invest in themselves in order for us to have a better partnership. Like I can't. You can only support somebody so much if it's something that they're intent on not doing. But,
and again, I think it's important to support your partner. And again, like I said, as a married woman, in no way am I advocating, and no way are we advocating, because I wouldn't be a part of a conversation that did not empower the support of our Black men.
Right.
But what I am saying is that you have to want to be the agent of your own change. You have to have an internal locus of control strong enough that you will be invested in your own healing. And what we're seeing, and the reason why we're mentioning that, is the DL phenomenon propagates on a lot of people that probably need to go talk to somebody and haven't. And that's why we brought it up today.
Yeah, but I don't believe, like, let's take the trans part out of it. I don't like the narrative that we as Black women have to suffer through getting men to love us and do right by us. Like, I really want to work on that Black cis and trans women, pushing back from that and giving ourselves permission to say no when it's harmful. I don't think we need to suffer in order to get love. And I think that is promoted a lot in our culture, that you need to be a rider or ride with this man while he's treating you badly. Like, and not even physically, like just doing stuff emotionally to you that's degrading to you and that shakes your worth as a Black woman. And I think DL culture kind of exists in that thing, because this is we just have to be conditioned to accept the men at their worst and really not challenge them and force them to be better. And I just, for my mental health and my clarity and my personal politics, I don't want love that is suffering in that way. Like, I don't believe that we have to suffer in order to know what good love is. Not everybody.
And I feel like that, sis, is that deeper golden nugget that I want people to extrapolate from this conversation. You don't have to suffer to love. Love is not suffering. It is difficult, yes. It can be laborious at times, yes. But when it begins to feel like suffering, emotional, physical, spiritual suffering, you're in something that is toxic. And be it whatever type of relationship you're in, when you begin to feel like it is an inexorable burden, which is what I deem suffering. When you feel like you are in something that is beyond your capacity to succeed in, and you're suffering, when you no longer have a light about yourself because you are spending so much time trying to pull up with weight that is pulling with you, you are suffering. And what I'm saying is that for those that are suffering, for those that are with people that are not willing to do the work, for those that are with men that have not shown up to be emotionally available for them at all, that you should start asking more of yourself. If you were a man and in any of those things you said you felt hit by it, remember that hit dogs holler. And so all I'm saying is, to the women that are with men that are not doing their fair share, that are not doing the fair share emotionally to be able to show up healthily for you in your space, in your time, in your life, you should expect better for yourself. And what we're saying here at Box Number 512 Podcast, Grown Black Trans Woman Talk, is that you have the right to define your life as something that is free from suffering. And that requires that the people in your life be invested in minimizing whatever suffering it is that you're going through, like making sure that they are their best self, or at least working towards it. And that's what we're saying. I'll support you if I feel like you're supporting me by supporting yourself. That's what we're saying.
Right. And also, I kind of think this ties into the conversation that a lot of trans amorous men feel like they only need to do the work when they're partnered with trans women, which kind of negates the fact for them that whether you're with a trans amorous cis man, whether you're with a trans woman or whether you're with a cis woman, you're still trans amorous. So aside from being with us or being partnered with us or having sexual interactions for us, your trans amorousness is a part of your identity. So you need to be working on this for yourself, because no matter who you partner with, you're still going to have these desires. It's still going to come up. But a lot of these men only feel like it's only that it doesn't matter if they're a partner with a cis woman. But then they run into these situations where they're still like watching cis porn, or watching trans porn, or they still having trans attractions, and then they have to hide it, or they don't feel comfortable talking about it. So in The Lioness and Myself, we've noticed where men like are purposely not working towards it, because it's like, well, it's not real because I'm not with the trans woman in this moment, or I only want to advocate for trans women because I have this beautiful cis appearing trans woman in my face right now. And hold on, I'm gonna bring the lioness back on.
No. I'm still on, sis.
No. On the Instagram.
No. I got off on purpose because I'm trying to figure out how to do the to take the echo off. I'm just gonna mute my phone, and I was in the process of muting.
Okay.
So I apologize for the misunderstanding there.
Yeah. So what was I saying? Yeah, it's just like trans amorous, like they have to get to a point where whether they're with the trans woman or not, this is something that they should be seeking to resolve within themselves or process within themselves or work within themselves. Because as long as they think that they only have to do it when they're engaged with us, then nothing ever changes, because it's like they can just put it off on us being trans, whether rather than them being trans amorous men, and this is a unique part of their identity, and they have to reconcile how it changes their world and how they have to move differently throughout the world. Excuse me, my throat is dry. Sis, did you want to jump in that conversation?
Yeah, I feel like in a large part of our journey, we focus on a lot of the aspects that are going to allow us to be the most safe, right? So we focus on how the world sees us. We focus on how we show up in the world, how we look. Some of us, everything down to how we talk and how we be is something that we've had to work and craft over time because we were taught to bind that and not express it to ourselves. Some of it's more natural, but point there is we've all had to go through a process, a seed to harvest process to be these people. But in that process, I feel like what gets left out is the piece about making sure you show up in a world where you demand of other people that they see you for who you are. Not just I see you physically, but that I'm okay with all of who you are and the fullness of what that means. And there's nothing in me that is shaken about the beautiful creature and the thing that God created you to be. And that I think a lot of us sometimes, because we've had to fight and had to change and had to go through this angst and struggle sometimes to live in a world where we don't see ourselves how we want. And then when we do transition, we're treated a certain way by the rest of the world. I feel like a lot of us never really fully center in that space of like, I'm okay. I am okay. And there's nothing about me that is broken. There's nothing about me that needs to be like completely redone in order for me to be happy. And as long as your happiness is based on a surgery, it's based on a man, it's based on a person, it's based on a job, it's based on money, it's based on exterior surfaces, things, you remove the focus from yourself, which is where the entire part of the focus of this transition should have been. And for me, a big part of me really healing as a human being and really like, not even so much because healing is a journey. So I'm not even going to say I'm healed or anything. Like I'm still healing. A big part of my healing journey has been me realizing like a lot of the shit I was told to value, a lot of the shit I was told to uplift, a lot of the value systems, the prestige, the jobs that I wanted, the reason why I went to college, a lot of that was trying to be respectable, to try to prove to people that in spite of what I am, that I am worthy to be loved. And when you live in a place of in spite of, you actually put yourself in a place where you're actually defining yourself as a flaw. Because I pathologize my experience. Because if I'm living in spite of something, that means there's something to be living in spite of. There's something wrong with me. And what took me a lot of years and still I'm working on to this day is getting to that place where I'm like, all right, I want people to love me because of who I am, not in spite of who I am. So then I have to love myself in my fullness because of who I am, not in spite of it. So that means even in the days where I'm not having the greatest skin day, even in the days where I'm not feeling my most soft, my most self, I have to learn to love me. And I feel like once I at least got that train rolling, the depression kind of didn't take hold as hard. The anxiety didn't kind of take hold as hard. The stress of living just got a little bit easier because what I do know, bitch, is that I'm the one. And I had to teach myself that if I survived all the shit that I've been through, then I am enough to be loved because of who I am, not in spite of, because I love myself because of everything that I've been through, not in spite of it. God doesn't love me in spite of. God loves me because of what he made me to be. And that was what took me so many years of stress to figure out. And I want to put that in the conversation because I feel like as we're processing it, I want people to know we're talking about the BL phenomenon, but what I really want to speak to is the heart of us so that we have a better esteem for how we see ourselves and our fellow sisters. Because if you can't look at transness as beautiful, then how the hell do you expect someone else to? Period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's about like on the surface, it may be about seem like it's about DL men, and partly it is. It is about DL men,
Yes,
but
yeah.
really, it's about how you see yourself, how you want to move through the world, and the type of energy that you want to attract. Because when you are comfortable and when you're at peace with what you are and who you are and what your purpose is, it makes it easier for you to eliminate distractions because you're not operating from a place of desperation or a place of trying to satisfy and appease people. You put it on the table. This is what I am. This is what I have to offer, and take it or leave it. Take it or leave it. But I feel like because we as Black trans women, we're so used to operating from a place of Black or only being able to get access if we are in proximity to this, or we look like this, or we bring it like this. Over time, it starts to diminish and devalue your spirit, and then you get lost. And then you wonder why you keep on running into these situations. So initially, this is about DL closeted trans amorous men working on themselves, but ultimately, this is about us as a community and us as sisters and us as women and femmes, beginning to take the initial steps to hold ourselves to a higher standard and to demand more of the people that want to sit at our tables. Like you have to do more. It's not enough that you can just creep into our world through cracks in the baseboard. If you really want to be here, stand with us in and outside of the bedroom. Because outside of the bedroom and your friend groups and your little social groups, that is really where you can demonstrate how much of an ally you are. Because even in relationships, I still need you to be an ally for me. So, hi, Michaela. Michaela is in the room.
Hi, Michaela. How you doing, darling?
So Instagram Live is going to kick us off in about 2 minutes. We can stay on here for like another 10 minutes. I know I have another engagement at 2:30.
I don't want to belabor the point. I feel like we've imparted a word upon people, and I feel like if you like more, if you like this, we want you to support Black-owned business by like following and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. Oh, before we go though, I did want to take a couple of minutes of our time, sis, to talk about a situation. So my brother, Jamel Young, he someone that is an advocate, a fierce advocate here in Atlanta. He is a trans man of color that has done wonderful work and wonderful things here in the city. He's
Hold
been
on,
a
hold
big
on, hold on.
supporter of
Hold
mine.
on. I'm about to restart the live on Instagram because it's going to cut. It's going to cut us off. So
Gotcha.
hold on.
So we'll see you in a moment on Instagram. But for those of you who are here with us, I'll wait a moment so for us to re-talk about Instagram. And to my shout out to my brother Jamel, if you're watching, I love you. The house down. And I'm sorry that what you went through happened, but we're going to use our platform to speak truth to the darkness and to bring light to your lawsuit and to, not to go through details because of course I don't have the details, but we will post on the box number 512 page the details of what I'm about to tell you guys about. So you guys stay tuned for that. Let me know when you're back. Are you live?
Yeah, I'm back up. Come back into the room.
Okay, I gotta go back. I gotta get off our page because our page be the default on my Instagram page, so I have to get back to ATL. Hold on. Yeah. I never really did figure out Instagram
honey, the people was coming back in the room, honey, on Instagram.
Oh, well, let me get back in the room then, bitch. I don't see the live. It's not yet showing up for me, but there's a bit of a delay sometimes with it. Is that, oh my gosh. Like,
while we're waiting, also make sure if you haven't and you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, make sure you
there we go. Now the alerts came, and I'm requesting to join.
And write a review, an honest review about what you think about our podcast, because they really count.
They do.
So hold on, I'm waiting to bring Lioness back on the Instagram.
And she's live.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Okay, go ahead, sis.
Oh, I was simply remarking that I kind of lost my train of thought now, girl. You know
about the case.
Oh, right. So Jamel Young, my brother here, he's an advocate here in Atlanta. He's a wonderful man that has done a lot of work in the community. He's participated in the Trans Housing Assistance Program. He's worked for the community in a myriad of different capacities. He also was a big supporter of the late great Cheryl Courtney Evans, my trans mother, who helped found the organization that I'm the executive director of, which stands for TILT, Trans Individuals Living Their Truth Incorporated. And yeah, he's someone that I consider a family. He's like family to me. Well, anyway, he has a lawsuit against the jail and the city of New York because of the way that he was treated. There's an article that we will share on our box number 512 page that will talk more about what he went through and the details of the lawsuit. I am not at liberty to give all of that here because that's not the point. The point that I want to share in this moment is that we have to remember that trans men are also going through all kinds of oppression on so many levels that doesn't often get talked about, because as men, we expect them to bite into that misogynistic, poisonous apple of not being able to share their feelings, not being able to tell their truth, not being able to talk about their assaults or their rapes or their own attacks or murders, because we expect them as men to just stand and hold that. So I want to take this moment before we end our podcast to hold a space for my trans men, particularly my Black trans men, because you have the unfortunate designation of being Black and trans and a Black man in a world where all three are just persecuted on such an extreme level. And a lot of times in community, I feel like their story gets not the same amount of attention. It's the way the larger community, we have to remind people about Breonna Taylor. We have to take that extra emphasis. I feel like as trans sisters, as trans women, I want to, because our image is easy to be commodified. It's easy to go on TV and it looks pretty. It makes sense to people. People are starting to accept our experience. And I feel like with this privilege that we're getting now as trans women, in the sense that people are now beginning to see the beauty in us, let's not forget about our brothers who have been holding our hands, standing with us and supporting us. So I wanted to take this moment to talk about Jamel and his situation, and I love you, and I hope that everything is well with you, and I hope that your lawsuit is successful, because we need to stop oppression where it lies. If you want to know more about what I'm talking about after this live, we will be tagging the actual link to the article. I've asked his permission to share it, and we'll be doing it, and I told him I was going to talk about it today. So if you're listening, I love you to life. So yes, I wanted to take that moment. Sis, what do you think about that?
It'd be interesting to see how everything gets resolved in the court system. But again, if you've been paying attention, Black trans men are definitely impacted by police brutality. And then it's compounded if they are arrested and they have to go through the prison system. So I think it's unfortunate, but it's something that happens a lot and that's not talked about.
And the routine traffic stop, we always think about it in the context of trans women, the routine traffic stop where the person find out you're trans and then they begin to sexually harass you and then they begin to take you to jail so you could be laughed at by everybody and then you put in an unsafe situation. We always think about that in terms of a trans woman, but what happens when it happens to trans men? And my brother, Jamel Young, this is an example. So when we post that story up, you guys make sure you share so that we're aware. This does happen to our men too, and that he went through a situation that is the prototype of what we as a community are say that we're trying to break down, which is people in power using their power to shame and humiliate us simply for existing. And
I think something like that happened in Atlanta a couple of years ago at East Point.
Yes, and I happened to be a part of the protest and the rally and the march on that. I got to sit in the conversation with the mayor of East Point, and we came up with the solution. I actually did the training for East Point Police Department. So, girl, yes, 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 yes.
And also shout out to Kai.
Changes in the building.
And shout out to Kai Peterson, who was released from incarceration last week. A black trans man who's been waiting for him to get out. Somebody that was unjustly incarcerated because he defended himself against his attacker. Which resulted in the attacker's death. But we definitely, as a community, know that he.
And that's that you're saying that's a separate situation.
Yeah, it's a separate situation. Kai Peterson. Yeah, Kai Peterson.
Kai. Yes, and Kai's out now, isn't he?
Yeah, Kai is out.
Shout out to Kai.
Yeah.
I wore your paraphernalia. I shared the stuff. Like you're someone that I can't wait to hug on your neck in person, because just to know that you went through such a thing and you came out on the other side. I just can't wait to hug on your neck.
Hold on.
We were invested.
Hold on, we just got a comment from Goddess. We have to stop competing in the Oppression Olympics. I'm so sick about talking about privilege, aka system, Willie Lynch violence. I just want to be mindful that Oppression Olympics is a term used by people who are not interested in liberation. It's a way to kind of dilute or neutralize the conversation on privilege and the way that systems of oppression and power and the stratification of power in this world, and particularly in this country, works. So I just want us to be mindful of using
the terminology and the way we use.
Right, Oppression Olympics. It's not about Oppression Olympics. It's about
because let me say. Oh, I'm sorry, because that gave me. And I'm gonna just say this real fast, sis, and I hate. Well, let me let you finish your thought, and I'll come and say mine.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not about Oppression Olympics. It's looking at the stratification of power and how systems of power perpetuate these things over periods of time. It's not about Oppression Olympics. If you are really committed to doing the work, you have to acknowledge how different attributes or things that you have are privileged in society. You have to be willing to admit that, and you have to be able to admit the privileges that you have, however large they are or however slight there are. Everybody has privilege. One thing I want to talk about before I get off, shout out to Kim Foster for Harriet. She has this concept of where she wants to talk about beauty as a system of oppression, right? And how people who are more conventionally beautiful have access to power that people who are not beautiful don't. So it's like we have to condition ourselves to not let the discomfort dissuade us from talking about how real systems of oppression work and impact people differently. So go ahead, sis.
For sure. I like how you brought in that part just now about how systems of oppression can be defined. Systems of oppression manifest in different ways. The way that they affect the way that they affect. I call the community the body. I feel like if we looked at ourselves holistically as a body, we would see that me defining a pain in my leg does not diminish the pain of the arm. It doesn't diminish the experience of the arm. The finger still is able to do what it does, but the finger is a part of the body, and while the finger itself may not be hurting, the finger should be able to feel what's going. The finger is attached to the body that feels the foot. So if the bottom of my foot, the leg is hurting, though my finger is not hurting, my finger is also processing that pain along with the rest of the body. And when we're talking about systems of oppression, sometimes people will often feel like, well, we got to ignore that foot that's rotting off, because we got to keep talking about the body. If we're trying to be about business, if we're trying to be about success, we got to ignore the fact that this foot now is gangrenousous and this shit about to drop off. And what we're saying is that mentality has led to a lot of us having broken body and missing limbs and not being full in our fullness. So when we talk about deconstructing systems of oppression, when we talk about destruction of the things that are trying to fuck with us, we got to define them first. And I feel like sometimes we erroneously misconstrue defining systems of oppression as wallowing in them and playing the Oppression Olympics. I can say what bothers me. I can say, because I'm a part of the body, I can say that the foot here, down here, we're in pain, girl, and we're drying up. We're not getting enough circulation, and we're in danger of falling off the body. And what we're saying is that we want to be a part, and the body needs us. The body will be crippled without us. So we're actually alerting the entire body that we have a problem. And while some of us are fingers, some of us are hair, some of us are head, some of us are different parts of the body, what I am simply saying is to ignore one limb and to pretend like everything is okay, is to dismiss the experience of all of us together and what it would mean to lose the thing that you're not defining. So we want to define systems of oppression. We want to talk about the things that hurt. We want to define and be able to go so that we can heal these things and come and be a better community as one. So me calling out racism, me calling out colorism, me calling out transphobia, me calling out feminophobia, me calling out all of these things that are painting the body that is beautiful, that is us, that is one community. Me calling out those things is not playing oppression Olympics. It's simply defining what's the problem. Now, because I'm not saying that I'm not still moving, that you still walking on this leg, though it's gangrenous. You still are using the resources of this leg. What we are simply saying as trans community or a part of the body, what we're simply saying is treat us better. We're simply showing and explaining what's happening so we can all be better. That's why sometimes when I get a little angsty when I hear people use the oppression Olympics language, because it oftentimes silences very necessary members of community from being able to talk about what is affecting them, because we want to talk about what's good. We want to talk about how we can be prosperous, or we want to talk about the things that aren't bothering us. But no. It's hard to really focus when you're in pain. And so let's address the pain so we can then focus. Amen. So I hope that clears it up, whoever had that question. Oh, somebody, the goddess says, I wasn't talking about y'all when I made that statement. Got you. All the way. Hit it home. But thank you for the teaching, because now I'm speaking to the people that we both talking to. Right. Amen, sis? Amen. So right. I'm not talking to you. Now we passing that. I'm talking to the people in the world that use oppression Olympics in a way, so because they don't understand why we keep talking about this. I'm talking to y'all. I'm not talking to her. I'm talking to y'all. Amen. Amen.
So I think we're going to get up off of here for now. We've been on here for over an hour. I
hope I cleared that up, goddess. No tea.
Yeah, no tea.
That's not my reason for saying that. I got you. 1,000.
So as a reminder, episode 19 is out right now. Make sure y'all download that. Make sure y'all listen to
Someone said, as a Black cis lesbian, I need to hear these combos. Yes.
So I guess the Grown Black Trans Woman Talk, we coming up on Instagram again, honey. We coming up on Instagram again. But yeah, we will be back up here. Episode 19 is out. Make sure you download that. Also, make sure you are rating and reviewing our podcast and telling your circle about your podcast. Yes, there's a podcast with two Black trans women having deep, intense conversations about stuff. So make sure you're sharing our podcast with your circle. And we will see you on live the next time, sometime next week. Well,
we thank you guys for joining in the conversation as well. And like you said, tune in next week, but also feel free to like, follow, subscribe to us on all of our social media platforms. And today, this engagement, I'm so excited. Thank you for participating, guys.
All right. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Let me end it over here.